everyone, and welcome back to the news, because yes, finally, some good video game news has happened. Ubisoft have released a feature. It's a feature that used to be free, but no, now it's monetized. Embracer Group also are on the warpath. They're continuing to be. And speaking of warpaths, well, EA's digital card scandal continues, and they really seem to be pissed and on their own warpath as well. Plus, of course, a bunch more, because it seems there is another few milliliters of video game news juice to squeeze out of Warcraft 3 Reforged. By the way, Patreon. I don't have a good segue, but hey, look at this bow pin. It's really cool. This is the pin for this month on Patreon. Pretty damn awesome. You'll also get, the sticker, the art, all that jazz, and all the other things we do in Patreon, like the daily briefing and many other things. So, that's the Patreon. Thank you for all your support. And with that said, let's go. Assassin's Creed Valhalla launched its big 1.2 update, the one with transmogrification. Of course, that's the idea of making the gear that you're wearing look like another bit of gear that you've collected before. It's very big in the MMO space, and of course in the two most recent Assassin's Creed games. Now, transmog being outright missing from Valhalla at launch was a strange enough thing for many people who want to make their Viking fantasy, but now that it's here, you gotta cough up. Because it costs 50 in-game silver for each piece of gear, and only at a specific NPC. Now that's very different from Odyssey's system, which was free, and from the pause menu. Now 50 silver, that might not seem like a lot, but that really can stack up over time as you are customizing your character's entire look. Now, it is easy enough to get silver early on, but the thing is that later on, once you've basically looted lots of the map, money can be a good bit more tough, especially when that silver is used for a bunch of other things as well. But don't worry, because silver can be purchased for real money. So yes, considering how scarce money can be, and how each customizable item is, paid for separately, right, you transmog piece by piece, yeah, it's actually safe to say that Ubisoft have put in paid transmog, right? They clearly want to have more money sinks for the in-game economy, such that being able to purchase silver with real money is something that's more alluring to players. So hey, maybe they just wanted a nice little cash injection now that the game is approaching, 6 months since release, which, it is a bit of a joke, it is just a bit silly, but it's also not really unexpected, given Ubisoft's sort of strange live service, open world single player game thing that they seem to be trying to push. Alright, next up, People Make Games delved into the world of Asian outsourcing in the games market, and they found, surprise, surprise, a whole bunch of crunch going on. Now, there's not a massive amount of analysis to do here, just that, yes, it is a bunch of crunch going on, that's obviously not ideal, but one of the main companies talked about was Lemon Sky. Now, do you recognize that name? It's because Lemon Sky did assets for Warcraft 3 Reforged, and also StarCraft Remastered, which is pretty awesome. Now, of course, this is not to say that War 3 Reforged is their fault at all. That is stuff that is squarely on Blizzard for the blame. But still, between the set-up-to-fail team in Irvine and the outsourced artists who seemingly had to do a bunch of crunch, it really does seem like nobody had a great time making that game. Okay, enough of the grim stuff. This is a feel-good story. Grand Theft Auto Online had dire loading times. Really dire. But not for much longer, because Rockstar are implementing a fan-made fix by Toast that cuts them by up to 70%. And the story here is kind of funny. Toast began investigating, right? And found nearly 2 billion, that's a big number, largely unnecessary item checks before each game. And going through those 2 billion checks is why loading times regularly would exceed 5 minutes. Toast fixed this, Rockstar responded to the whole thing, they confirmed that yes, Toast had actually found an area of improvement for the loading, and Rockstar actually began implementing the official fix that will be patched to the main game. And Toast seems pretty happy too, getting a $10,000, what initially looked like a thank you, but it's actually a part of Rockstar's larger HackerOne bug-finding program. So basically, he was able to pick up a pretty nice bug bounty. I mean, it could actually just be the case that they wanted to, do that, and they had the bug bounty, so they made it apply to him. Because the bug bounty initially reads as being a little bit more sort of security-focused, but anyway, look, it's a nice story here. It's a nice story. The players are winning. The person who did the fix is winning. Everyone has came off better here. So I thought that's the sort of thing to call out.
The greats are all here.
Well, I hope you didn't feel too good about that one, because we've got a grim story. That is the dramatically named EA Gate that is rolling on. And if you want some crazy numbers, just wait till the end of this segment. So, though the investigation into internal accounts selling rare FIFA Ultimate Team cards, while that is still ongoing, EA have confirmed that one or more EA accounts were actually being used used inappropriately by somebody within EA. So, yeah, an EA staffer was selling these cards. EA flat out just say that they are very angry about the whole thing, and that they are going to be taking action against the employees that are found to have been doing this, with any of the granted cards being removed, and the players who bought the cards being banned. And what's more is that they've actually temporarily suspended content granting functionality from FIFA. Now, this is just an internal thing for bug finding, right? The way that, when you're making a game, it's very useful to be able to just spawn an item, right? Pretty core stuff. But that is actually what was used to generate the rare cards, right? The ones that were actually sold. And sold for a lot of money. DMs posted when the story first broke showed people charging up to $2,000 US for rare card bundles. And you may think to yourself, oh, you'd have to be insane to do that. And this is where I say, no, by the economy that EA have set up, $2,000 for the cards you want is actually a banging deal. Here's the numbers. So FIFA Ultimate Team has always been a money game. We all know this, and this week, a player took some time to work out just how costly it would be for him to assemble his own dream team of football players. So, Twitch streamer Scuds TV highlighted just how unattainable a 100 million coin team is for most players. So getting that many coins would require the player to play at least 66,666 games. Now, at 20 minutes a game, that's 22,000 hours of game time. That is 916 full days of uninterrupted FIFA gameplay. And remember, FIFA is an annualized franchise, so within the relevancy of a single FIFA entry, basically it's literally impossible. Now, there is also a trading option for getting the squad, but Scuds believes that that would actually involve 69 straight days of 24/7 trading. Now, the final option, of course, is to spend real-life money on FIFA points. And this would, of course, allow you to buy the card packs to hopefully get those, the random players and get the ones that you want. Now, Scuds' math states that a player would need to spend almost 80 grand on FIFA points to get enough coins to actually buy, in his case, his dream squad. That's wild. And that's why 2 grand for the cards that you want is a hell of a deal, even though it is an awful value. Insane. This is wild stuff, and it totally does cast EA's assertions that players don't need to spend money into further doubt. It does make the money side of this it's just so transparently absurd. So, scumbaggery. What's new? Next up, new Sony exclusive games, because former Stadia Games and Entertainment boss, Jade Raymond, has launched Haven, which is a studio working on original IP for Sony. So yes, Game 1 is a Sony exclusive. She really hit the ground running, right, didn't she? Either that, or she knew that Google didn't really have her back in advance and, started trying to set this stuff up before the Stadia game stuff got axed. Now, the accompanying statements about this Studio Haven coming into being are exactly what you'd expect, the creative freedom and the jazz, all that jazz, basically. And in fairness, it's stuff you probably didn't really get too much of if you worked at Google. Now, of course, Jade helped to create Assassin's Creed. She founded EA Motive, that is a studio that eventually would go on to release Star Wars Squadrons, and now she's got this new studio. So, at any rate, it's going to be interesting to see what Haven are going to be working on. I mean, we're in a world where Microsoft is gobbling up studios, trying to get their own exclusives and stuff, so it is no surprise to see Sony try to get more exclusives through something like this. And especially if they're now worried that, say, Elder Scrolls 6 will be only on Xbox, or will cost like, £1 with an introductory offer to Games Pass. That's going to be rough for Sony, so they will want to make moves like this. Now, of course, Sony do not own this studio. It is independent, but I would say that if their Sony exclusive game goes well, then, yeah, don't be surprised to see an acquisition happen. And the big news continues because I'd say the industry's right now most prolific studio-absorbing blob, the Embracer Group, they are gearing up for even more acquisitions. Now, they are, of course, THQ Nordic, Koch Media, Saber Interactive, they're the parent company of all of them, and they've issued 36 million Class B shares. Now, that is at just shy of $25 a share, and that means this issuance is expected to raise about $894 million. And of course, they're going to be using this money, they say, to strengthen their financial position and also to continue their ongoing acquisition strategy, which of course means buying developers, buying publishers, and other assets. And those other assets, that could be technologies, could be IP. Now, Embracer actually said they are actively reviewing a growing number of potential near-term acquisition targets. So it'll be interesting to see who they're going after. I'll definitely say that. Their most recent acquisition, of course, was Gearbox. That was big. And then also a mobile publisher called EasyBrain and Acer Media. They're a porting house that is rumored to be making something really bloody big right now. So there you go, Embracer is pretty damn massive. In terms of other things, they founded a new studio for the Gothic remake game, so they're just popping off on all fronts pretty much. It'll be very interesting to see what that actually looks like in 5 years, once a bunch of these acquisition plays, actually get to play out. Speaking of playing out, I'm going to play myself out by showing you this particular pin, which of course goes really well with, the sword and the shield pin, which I can't really hold up correctly for you for the last 2 months on Patreon as well. So hey, you want to get a sweet pin, also some sweet art, and a bunch of other cool stuff on Patreon, and support what we're doing? Well, the link's down below. And with that said, that's it for me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.